part of the reason why I continue to stay in security is I love to learn. To stay current, you need to be learning new things every day. I had an early mentor in my career said, be the person that raises your hand for the things that no one else wants to do.
When you came into Elastic, what were your biggest priorities to, strengthen the security controls, would you say?
So for me, I always joke that one of my key things coming in was not to break it. Elastic had a fantastic security culture and we're doing a number of very strong things. So my focus was, how do I come in and fill the gaps that's on the enterprise controls, bring in that general control structure, and then how do you continue to adjust that, expand it, mature it, scale it. When I started at Elastic, it was just Elasticsearch, Kibana, Logstash, kind of your core Elk stack, and then moved into the solutions, our security solution, observability, our search solution, and really having a strong play in the AI infrastructure. What does that mean from a security program perspective? How does that change your threat landscape? Where I see a lot of the challenges are security teams coming in to engineering organizations and saying, here's how we're going to do security. And oftentimes it's coming from security professionals that haven't lived in an engineering role and are coming at it not from the perspective of having to deal with this and live with this process every day. And so one of the key success points is just doing that together and in collaboration and having some ownership within the development teams for those processes.
How have you gone about making sure that you've built a team that understands that? What do you look for when you're hiring?
For me, I'm looking for, one, folks that enjoy security, enjoy what they do. There are stressful times when things are happening in the industry, so you really sometimes need to love it to stay in it. The key thing with security, if you're not continuously learning, then you are stagnant and stale in your knowledge and you just won't be as effective. Folks that are really, really comfortable looking at what they did yesterday and saying, you know what, I could do that better.
How do you make sure that you kind of don't burn out with the stress of a security role and make sure that your team don't burn out as well? Because it is rife in the industry.
I'm very careful and deliberate about the companies I choose to work for. So I put a lot of upfront time in making sure that I'm going into an environment where I'll be set up for success, where I'll enjoy working with the people, I'll be challenged. It's cliche, but a team that together is more than what each individual could do on their own. And that just brings in some pride and some excitement, and you just enjoy what you're doing day in and day out. Make it fun. Kind of top thing that we're focused on right now, and if you look at recent threat reports, whether it's the Elastic Global Threat Report or any others that companies put out, it's the credential leak. It's credentials that are available on the internet, whether default or get leaked through other breaches. Ensuring that, one, you have visibility and know when that happens, or at least understand kind of what's out there, but also changing your approaches, your technologies in your organization to help prevent that from happening in the future. Some of it's configurations, some of it's secure by design, some of it's human error as we're more and more moving into server-based APIs, API keys, access tokens, paying more attention to those. That's been something that's come up rather quickly with the cloud and SaaS infrastructures that we're all moving towards. We need to treat those as very secure types of data points. Now we realize that there's some holes in it. Go back and secure it all up.
Can you lift the lid on that a little bit more, kind of the credentials protection side of things? Whether it's, very specific controls, just making sure, certain people have got, hardware tokens for MFA or whatever it might be. Are there some specifics you can talk to me about in terms of your approach to ensuring credentials aren't a big problem?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll put it into a couple different categories.
Yeah.
One is kind of employee system access, your general business services, email and things like that. I cannot recommend strongly enough to adopt phish-resistant multi-factor authentication, just something that's really tying both a person to a device or something that's more than just username, password, or a one-time token, anything like that. And then when you're looking at more systems integration, development, taking a step back and really understanding how does your service or your application or your environment work, and where is access needed and how is it happening. And a lot of it's now, I mentioned API keys, looking at things like hyperscalers, AWS, Azure, the various access tokens, and how can you implement them in a way where no one actually knows what the secret is, what the key or the token. That's the ideal state. Everything just kind of happening machine to machine. But then it's also having some standard processes and practices. In early days of companies, someone will create an API key or a certain account, and that one exists. Everyone knows it, propagates everywhere through an organization. And then when you want to try to make some changes, you're doing a lot of work to understand, all right, where is this being used and what impact could it have if we change that?
How do you ensure that the discipline, particularly as you grow as a company, and just to make sure that you're on top of all that stuff and that kind of sprawl just doesn't get away from you? The second question is rolling out phishing resistant MFA. It's not without its friction, is it? How have you found that experience?
On the discipline, it is a challenge because we're humans, and by human nature, we'll fall back on what we're comfortable with. We'll go to what's easiest. And that's the key thing. In the last couple of years, there's been a real focus on applying behavioral sciences into security. And it's, for the longest time, I think as security practitioners, we were fighting human behavior and thinking that we could change human behavior, which we can't. So it's how do we change our approaches and be able to amplify standard human behaviors? And part of that is making security part of the process. So it's the early days of designing and ensuring that security is upfront. But then a key piece of that is avoiding manual processes as much as possible. We get busy, we forget, we get distracted. So that's automation is a key piece. And then it's also governance. You can have automation, but you need to make sure it's happening. Quarterly access reviews exist for a reason, because even if we have processes, even if we have automation, that can break down, and we need to have that governance check to make sure, yes, these accounts are getting removed after folks leave the organization. Certainly in earlier days, trying to roll out multi-factor authentication of any kind was just seen as a hindrance. It was another step. It was a waste of time. The threat landscape has changed to where if someone makes that argument, it's not seen positively. There's so much that can happen just with a single login and authentication of a user. So that has largely died down from what I've seen. The challenge when you're getting to phish-resistant multi-factor authentication is often as people want to move around, change devices, whether you have something tied into your phone, if you get a new phone. So it's what are those kind of operational processes is a key piece of really thinking through, and really need to understand how your organization works and how your employees work to try to alleviate a lot of those challenges early on. And then top-down support. Getting senior leadership to understand and support and be front and center of both adopting it, communicating it is a really key step to help ensure a smooth rollout.